commission meeting. At 6:02 PM. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bozo. Commissioner Jimenez.
Here.
Commissioner Miller. Here. Commissioner Vargas. Vice Chair Martinez.
Here.
Chair Ramirez.
Here. Right. This point of the agenda, we do a flag salute, and Jesse, would you please lead us in pledge to allegiance, please? Everybody, good stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Secretary's report.
The agenda was posted on September 12th at 1:02 PM.
Excellent. Item 5, it's time to approve the minutes from our meeting on August 19th. I will entertain a motion to accept the meetings as drafted.
Second.
So would you, do you make the motion?
Oh, do I need to?
Yeah, I said I'd entertain a motion, so. if you-
Oh, yeah, I'll motion to pass the minutes.
Anybody want to second that? I second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And so the minutes pass as drafted. And then now we are going to, take a look at the approval of today's agenda.
This is really just an item that to clarify if anybody would like to move, adjust anything around with the agenda, otherwise you may proceed.
There's no changes to it. Can I get a motion to accept today's agenda?
I'll do the motion.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? Opposed? So agenda is approved. Any introductions?
Everybody knows John Schatz?
John, thanks.
No. Cool. John's filling in for Mr. Souza. I did, were you aware that he had surgery? So he's doing generally well. He had we understand, a little setback, had to go back to the hospital for some infections, so overdoing it a bit, but otherwise doing well.
Now,
It's good. Back home.
Yes.
it's good. Please convey,
And I think everybody knows Bryce.
please convey a speedy recovery for John if you see him.
Yeah.
Will do. Maybe he's watching.
All right, we come to the point in the meeting where we have accept public comments that are not on the agenda, so your comments are items that you want to speak. This is your time to start. You will get 3 minutes, so take your time, relax, have fun. So, okay, don't worry about it, just talk like you're talking to your friends.
Come up here.
Yeah.
Is mom going first?
You want me to, yeah?
Come on up here. Come on up here if you would, just she's having fun.
Sorry, just, we'll have that off the stack.
That's good. Hey there, my name is Mila. As you can see, I have a whole surface that I take with me everywhere I go almost. I wanted to bring up something that I have been saying I was gonna come here and talk about for the last 8 years, and I finally got around to it. So I wanted to bring up a concern I have about our playgrounds in Gilroy. Since about 15 years ago, when I first moved here to now, it's gotten a lot hotter in the summertime. There's a lot more days that are well over 100 degrees. And what's happened is I have been taking my kids to playgrounds less and less often because I live in the west side of Gilroy where the Sunrise Park is, and then the other one, the green one, that's what it's called, but. Do you remember any?
On the west side?
Wait,
Yeah.
Parrot Hills?
And none of them have very much shade. So when it gets hot, instead of letting my kids go play somewhere where they can have some shade, because it's not so hot out, like if you're in shade, but when you're in the sun, it's crazy. I have to keep them inside the house. And that's been more and more of a problem to the point where I don't go very often. I found one park that I wanted to ask about is in Morgan Hill, there's a park called Magical Bridge Playground. I don't know if any of you have been there, but it's many things I like about it. One of the things I like is they have shade and they're putting up more shade. They already have the poles sticking up to put shade all over the swings, over the slides, over everything. So the kids are in the shade, no bite. And then the other thing they have is a fence all around it, so I don't have to worry about my daughter going into the road. And the final thing they have that is a huge thing is they have bathrooms. My 3-year-old has to go, can't go in 2 minutes, she can't go in 5 minutes, she has to go now. So I drive to Morgan Hill when I take her to the playground. Otherwise, we have accidents, we have all sorts of things happening. And I would love for there to be one park in Gilroy that has the things that Magical Bridge Playground has. I know it would be probably more expensive, that's why I'm not saying that all of them should have it, but at least one. And at first I thought it was just me, but I've spoken to a lot of other moms. And not taking their kids to the playground because it's too hot and there's no shade is actually one of the main reasons they listed why they do not take their kids to the playgrounds. And the safety of not having a thing around it is another, because when you have multiple kids, my 2 boys start fighting, I have to look away, she'll run off and do something. You know, it only takes a minute. That's what I want to bring up, those 3 things, and I think the perfect example of what I would love to have at least in one place in Gilbert would be a inclusive park for kids with disabilities, that includes kids with disabilities and has shade and a place for little kids to go. Thank
Something like that.
you. You're the kid, they wanna hear what you have to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
and if you don't say it right, we'll come back.
Yeah, take your time.
So. I'm, so sorry about my mom's topic, but. I just don't like it that there's no shade, like. Nowhere. And when there is shade, it's like. Always in the direction of the sun, so the sun still goes where the shade would usually be. And I don't really like it how I have to always run in the burning heat, it's keeps getting hotter and hotter, and I don't like the heat. And when I want to play with my sister, it's like so hot that she doesn't really do anything, just sits there and watches. It's kind of boring at the playgrounds. And I really want something like I could actually interact with, because now that there's no shade, no one wants to go, and like when you do go, there's no one there. Because everyone's inside doing other stuff. We need something that just to make it better, so it's less hot.
Great, thank you.
Someone's phone. So, about the heat thing, it is to, like, in the really hot days, it's been really hot, and even in the shade, it feels like sauna is there. Especially if it, like, in parks, what minuscule shade there is, it still feels hot, like, in the, like, what, the one that, what is it, the one that I called the red playground again? Sunrise Park. Sunrise Park. Like remember that giant thing that's like that like giant thing that's over the benches, with the tables? Well, it might still feel hot in there because of the amount of heat that's going on. I can tell for sure because whenever I go to school and I'm in the shade, it still feels hot. And but what would be cool is if they added in a bit more like water fountains. So then like around everywhere, like in the Sunrise Park. There's only one, and that's near the basketball courts. I think there should be a few more, and same with what's it called? Carriages Park. So this Carriages Park. Also, if unless there already is this, I think you should have like a public garden where people can like get like veggies or plants. Like people can donate seeds and donate their time for like fun, calm, and relaxing. Okay, like a public garden.
Great, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys.
Have another speaker?
Oh, thanks. Hi.
And just for the mom and the kids, the comment is a comment, it's not on our agenda, we're not allowed to respond back, just to be clear, no one's not listening. Your notes will be taken in, just want to be clear with everybody on that.
Hi, good evening. I don't know if I should wait till 9.2 about the pickleball courts for Miss Animals. It's not about the pickleball court.
Speak now.
Okay, so good evening, Araceli Vaquera. I live right behind Las Animas Veterans Park. It's a beautiful park, as you all know. Unfortunately, it's a very isolated park. I've done as a community member what I can to make the park more inviting. As some of you may know, I spearheaded the smaller parking lots on Hannah and Wayland, closer to Arnold to close. And as somebody who lives there, I can tell you that that has brought in a lot of foot traffic, which is exactly what we wanted to do. We want the foot traffic, we want the families, we want the dogs. Unfortunately, there's so many things that happen at the Animals Park in and around the park that I think that really keeps people away. I'm there at all hours. Since we got our puppy, you will find me there as early as 6:30 in the morning until sunsets. I see people at 7 o'clock in the morning drinking, just like I can see people at 7 p.m. drinking. It's ongoing. Again, I welcome positive things into the park, but I don't know that the city should be investing millions of dollars and still neglect what is happening there now, because it's still happening. And then what happens? Everybody kind of self-isolates. You have Little League that stays to the corner. You have the tennis court that stays to their corner. So now my concern is that now pickleball is going to sit to their corner when there's other things that are happening in and around the park. There's areas that are very dark. They're scary. I just happened to be walking my dog last night by 7:40. It's dark. And nobody wants to be there. At least me as a female, I don't want to be there. I wouldn't want to be there with kids. I don't know if that's more lighting, better trails. It's hilly, and I know that that's just the design of the park. I don't know if we can change that very much, but there's a lot of hiding spots for people to hide when they don't have the right intentions. Gilroy has a lot of apartments. I'm sure that there's families that would like to leave their apartments and go to the park. And again, it's underutilized for, I think, safety concerns more than anything. So I would hope that Parks and Recs would have a conversation, maybe even more community members, as to how we can make that park safer for everyone. So I'll just leave it at that for right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.
So is that it for the public comments? Yes, thank you. All right, we're on to item 9, new business. Update on the recreation assessment project. There, doesn't matter, right?
Wherever you want to be.
Different right there. Yeah, that's fine.
So, as you know, council last night approved, two recreation related items. So one is the, contracting out for a consultant for assessment, the recreation division. And also, an interim, bidding period for, operator of the Quad Center. So the Quad Center is just a 1 year contract, 1 year extension option with the Choice Council. Mainly to allow for cooperative to happen while the assessment is underway, because the assessment takes a while and we can't necessarily implement the recommendations that come out. The assessment project will start with the scoping phase of the project, starting to meet with the council members. But we're also coming back, and come back in October to get the commission's input in the scope of work for the consultants coming to do the assessment itself. So basically, it's just kind of a really high level introduction. We'll talk about more about what the commission might want to see out of the assessment. In October, and we'll have a little more information about staff report, but not much today just because it just got approved last night, so we'll do that. I'm happy to answer your questions, but we'll take more full update.
So I'll open it to the commission. Any questions or comments for Bryce?
I do have one question about the funding that I know they mentioned it in the presentation. But can you just clarify where the funding for the consultant is coming from?
Yeah, so the funding is coming from fund balance in the recreation fund. So the recreation fund is a funding source separate for the recreation division. And so there's a pool balance built up over time in there. Originally, as you may know, we sketched the budget with the staffing and because of that ongoing revenue, but the council wants to do a full assessment of multiple aspects of the recreation functions. And so we're gonna use some of that fund balance to update it. So budget then will come back to council at the time the contract on the bids come in. And so we'll appropriate those funds that what's happening.
So the current system of like annually $1 million going into the recreation fund is still happening, right?
Yeah, so right now there's 1.5 million is their contribution. And so that is one of the topics that council wants to look at as far as assessments.
And that will happen in October.
So October will be the scoping meeting, so the assessment process will probably take anywhere from 6 months to a year. To conduct it, it just depends on how long the consultant and what deep of a dive the scope of what it's going to be. So in October, we're going to be coming back asking for the commission input. What do you want to see assessed? Basically, what do you want? Is there anything in particular the commission wants to have evaluated as part of assessment? At the same time, we're going to get input from council. And so once we have that input together, we'll partake in council in November. Here's a list of the scope of work items you find out this is able to issue out RFPs. So we can know what the bigger we're going to bid against.
Okay, so part of what we suggest in October could be looking at that allocation and comparing it to other cities. And like, actually, other cities give $2 million a year to recreation. Okay. Okay. And then I have one more question about the funds. I just want to make sure that's not going to interfere with pickleball at all.
No,
I know, I
so,
think it's
yeah, so
right. I just want to be
the
sure.
900's already been obligated, so that's staying in place, and so this additional fund will be.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? I have a couple of questions and comments. Bryce, regarding the needs assessment, in your experience, do those things just address recreation needs? You heard earlier today, there might be some safety. Do they address safety at all as far as the needs assessment, or just strictly recreation needs?
Typically, it's usually recreation focused, so what programs are available and possible, what's the demand for the public out there? Safety considerations, usually at that point, probably more like the capital items, parks themselves. There might be crossover as far as if the members of, they're doing the assessment, and updating that, there might be comments from the public about safety concerns, so they'll incorporate whatever comments come back in. As far as like safety assessments for how the lighting should be in the park, that type of thing, it's not something that's contemplated in the scope.
And also with respect to, does the consultant go out to the general public? Or is it gonna be strictly polling commission? Does it go out to do they interface with the community at all?
So, Yes, and no, and I'll explain it more. So council's direction was to refresh the needs assessment. It assumes that in that previous needs assessment, there was heavy community engagement. But then the reason I say, but possibly no, is that that's part of the scoping effort. So if it's something that goes to the commission, the council members want, and people can do it. And they approve, there is a possibility where as the scoping goes forward, that council may choose not to do community. I don't see it happening. I fully expect a lot of community to happen. But it really depends on what scope is agreed upon by council after receiving input from individual council member meetings as well as the commission feedback.
And then with respect to scoping, and man, the more scope you use, the more it's gonna cost. Your point. So the reserve, it said, I saw that in last night's city council meeting, and it came out of reserves. The reserve thing was, just to remind my fellow commissioners, that was a surprise to us when we realized Parks and Rec had a reserve. Because we never knew we had a reserve. We never knew that we were building up funds because that was explained. And part of last month's meeting, Emily, if you remember, you asked Arjo to come back and give us regular updates so we can kind of identify what the reserves are. And so we are aware of them, at least going forward. So I imagine these reserves were left over from the previous fiscal year and we're just carrying them forward. And that's where the money comes from.
Yeah, so any unspent funds for the 1.5 million plus any of the contract class revenue that come in. Get pooled, so whatever gets spent, and then any remainder stays in the recreation fund that time. The thought is that over time, that would be used to fund either expansion, so. For several years, we didn't look at adding positions, or anything. We want to make sure that there's enough ongoing sustainable revenue to be able to support additional staff, they can provide additional classes and programs.
Right.
So that's another thing the assessment we're going to look at is long-term vision for recreation. Is the 1.5 enough? Where does that stand? And how to grow recreation to whatever council through walk through that process identifies and its visioning going forward for the next 3, 5, 20 years, how long.
And the last comments I'll make on this particular item is, Emily and I did attend city council meeting last night. Recreation was focused. The aquatic program, council gave direction for the city to move forward to get the request for proposal to outsource the aquatic program for at least 1 year, maybe 2 years. I think part of that was my interpretation, part of it was a necessity because it's just not enough time for the city to do it on their own this next year. But I think that was the general feeling I got, that going forward, that's a real possibility, which I personally am in favor of. I'd like for the city to do our own swim programs at a reduced cost potentially, so we're not having to pay $121 for a swimming lesson, which is what it costs to the contractor. So that was one of the things that's moving forward. The other thing they approved was the needs assessment. So those were the 2 key items that we recreation focused in last night's council. So thank you. All right, no other comments on 9.1. We'll move on to 9.2. So the pickleball, I think.
That's me. Gonna put it here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, I don't know if it was you guys, but the library playground, excellent, that's where we're going.
It's beautiful. Have you seen it? Yeah. So.
Sorry. Bryce was signed in and then he left. So, I apologize, you got the brief, staff report, late. We're still trying to figure out, our new, program, for, staff reports, so I do apologize for that, but, again, it's a learning process. We're hoping to get some training soon out of it as well. Do you know how to turn on,
Yeah, I know, I was gonna bring it up. I know. Yeah, I was just trying to read through it right now.
Give third. Phone call. You're on your road. Broad state. This is a very short.
They put in the budget, I remember this, they put in 1,000, so I'm gonna find out what cost is coming up. And it was supposed to be more than so, but the idea is,
Awesome.
when we think about it, it's more than improvements.
Alright,
Lighting.
sorry, folks. So, we came to you in June to talk about pickleball. We committed that time to come back August, September to give you an update, and that's the purpose of this conversation. We again in June, the commission looked at, and before this, just for preference, the commission had indicated and landed on Los Angeles Park being an appropriate location back last year, the following year, previous year, sorry. And through a conversation in June, the commission agreed with Alana's project to move forward, and this was the location chosen. This is in between the community center, the pavilion area, and the dog park for context. And basically what we have done is to try to narrow down a bit of this. And I'll give you here's the handouts. I'll give you the handouts here, so you don't have to do that.
Oh, there's a big one.
Ooh, only way you can read them.
I know, I was.
I realize read them. So the bottom line, kind of, in this, just for context of what we're referring to, but this is the mirror we're looking at. Is obviously a four court configuration. These would include two of these covered cabanas. We heard about just need to have summer cover. And I think it's true on pickleball courts as well. To that point, that's what's being, something of this nature is being recommended between these two courts. These courts would be separated by fencing, and would have basically your standard separation on the sides and the ends for coverage. One of the things we spoke about at different times, I think, is the issue of some pickleball facilities. If you look at them, some of the most significant complaints
is that they crammed, sort of my words, but they sort of crammed the courts together. It didn't provide sufficient separation between the courts, and we can go find online a lot of those. I think one of those nearby is Morgan Hill, one of the complaints. The other thing is that those also didn't provide for fencing separation between the courts. So you would have balls typically going and rolling and interfering with play on the other courts. So this, you can see the little exhibit up above, there's a little more of a three-dimensional rendering, but you would have separation with low fencing within courts themselves to provide that what we think is necessary, appropriate separation. And this would be fully lighted. So lighting there, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. The other piece of this would be that roughly would be new concrete accessible paths of travel, working its way all the way around to this point, providing access to not only the pickleball, but to dog park, as well as back to the existing trail here. It's a little wonky back here, and like to fix that and deal with those issues. This also includes, we've heard from the community members, the desire to have some buffering, landscaping, tree buffer between the dog park and the pickleball facility. We're still looking at where it makes the most sense for trees to be, but there's also been a concern within the dog park that it did not have adequate shade as well, and so we'd like to look at also making those improvements. This would straighten out, as you can see, roughly here's the existing mowing fence line here. This would straighten that fence out, and then do some rearing, some work within the dog park as well. So that's the basics of this plan. The key to some extent is, what does this look like in terms of cost? And I know that everybody thought when we got the budget from the council that this would, frankly, even me thought that this would go a lot farther than it does. It never does with it. But I'll point out sort of two things that are circled here. One is in your list there, number 13 is the electrical system. It's basically the lighting. We have costed that out, looked at basically the manufacturers that's costing out with them. That's roughly $220,000 just for the lighting and electrical work there. And the fencing these days, steel, extremely expensive. And you've got about $75,000 in fencing with that. Combine those two together, you've got 1/3 of the budget taken care of just in fencing and electrical lighting. So that's the challenge and the struggle that we have in terms of the basic budgeting. So we have done this. Now, these will get narrowed down, focused down a bit closer, but this was just, again, to give a sense of where we were budget wise. This also is giving an indication for why at one point we were looking at potentially a 6-court facility, and why we've had to come back to the original council authorized funding wise for 4 courts. And that's where this is. You can see basically under this, again, a very, very early proposal budget, but about $800,000. So that did not give us a lot to work with beyond that point. Again, this will get honed down and better formulated. One of the things that this, what we're proposing is the Morgan Hill property, the Morgan Hill facility. We understand is having some cracking and settling issues with their court. I think they had some tough soil there. I think tough location. But they also use just, asphalt. AC asphalt concrete, for that. Our recommendation is to go the next level, up from that, which is to go for a concrete post tension slab, basically. They have rebar in it, have it there. This soil here is along the sloughie area there, the ditch, the water has been, there's organics here. We'd like this thing to last, for a long time. That is probably, 10-15% increase in cost over, the AC alone. But we think that, is a good value for the long haul. As we discussed, we have some cracks, and settling issues, even with, the tennis courts, on a fairly, regular basis right now. 6 and 7, of course, 6 and 7 both have cracking and separating beds, from settlement and soil, expansion, traction of soil usually is what's causing that. We expect the same kind of soil conditions here. So that's just to give you a sense of where we are, what we've been doing. We have been, busy working along with this issue. I think the most, critical point to this perhaps is the question of where do we go from here? We are looking, to go to the city council on October 6th to, just to seek their, confirmation, following a similar update, of the project scope. And, so that will happen then. We would, assuming on October 6th, we get, direction one way or the other in terms of this project. We would commence the preparation of the construction drawings and bid documents. At this point, if we can hold roughly that October 6th and get the authorization to move forward, we would be advertising for the project in spring 2026 and look at construction of the project in summer of 2026. So we've compressed that, and at one point that schedule was out further. I knew that was not going to be acceptable. It wasn't good. It wasn't acceptable to me either. But we've retooled a little bit and refocused efforts. As I indicated, I think in the June conversation, part of that was stepping back from San Ysidro Park for the time being, although we're not actually stepping back from that, but slowing down a little bit on that. Like pickleball, we got to move forward. So it's a balancing act in terms of priorities and what's happening with that. So that's the basic schedule we have, and I think you all know how to get a hold of me or Sean if you've got questions. But happy to answer any questions you have.
We'll open it up to commission questions, comments. Marcia? Good, please, yeah, great.
I tried to write them all down. First of all, I think the post-tension concrete slab is the way to go. I've heard feedback from, friends that are architects, and I've been to the Morgan Hill courts and they already are cracking. So for the price, I don't know how much a concrete slab is, but I think it's worth it. Doesn't look like it's that much. Second comment, kind of random. I posted in the Morgan Hill, somebody was asking in the Morgan Hill pickleball group about what's going on in Gilroy, and I posted an update, and their city is also thinking about doing lighting this year. And we're asking who we're using and what we're doing and stuff. So I don't know if there's like a way to work together and get the best deal, or I don't know for sure. So just comment on that.
We really can't. It's just not the way the public bidding process works, and plus we're just a different place than they are. But the public bidding process really would not allow us to really take advantage of the economy of scale. But I regularly communicate with their public works director, and I'll talk to him about it. I'm interested in what I am interested in at least is sharing information between them about who they're looking at. We
Yeah.
can share who we've been talking to and we can look at how what we're getting the same answers.
Yeah, that they were
and,
asking about.
And also
acres.
looking at the same issues with this. So
Okay.
I'll follow up on that, sure.
And then something that is going around everywhere around the country, there's articles about it everywhere, like it just happened in Los Gatos, is the sound noise that comes off of pickleball. Is that included in this estimate anywhere? And do you think it's gonna be an issue for the community?
One of the reasons we landed here, and recommended this spot for you is, that is one, it's a pretty active area. It's about as far away from the neighborhood as you can possibly get, for both the lighting and the potential noise impacts. It's tough to get around, although some communities have gone and required the padded paddles. They don't appear to work as well
Yeah, no.
with them. They don't really work well. The wiffle balls don't really come off of those bracket, those paddles in the same way. So I think we're just sort of where we are and why we pushed that as far away from the neighborhood as we could, and also away from the front. So we're kind of nicely, neatly in the middle of this, away from both the neighbors across the street and back behind us, with that. There's a piece of this in tennis, every baseball, has its own noise. There's the pinging of aluminum bats, irritate people too, with it, but, just, can't really get away from it. It's the nature of the beast.
Another comment I want to say is, we were talking about safety in the park earlier, and I think lighting is essential, not just for safety, like what we proposed originally, but it is hot, again, what people are saying. So if people actually want to use these, especially in the summer, we have to have lighting, and I know that's expensive.
That was something that we absolutely took away from this, that we needed to light these and deal with that. So we agree. I didn't mention, we have heard some interest in some form of cover for the summer heat. Pickleball is unique from tennis in that the lob isn't really used, and you can actually put sun covers over and not really have it hinder play very much into that. Unlike with tennis, where the lob was an active part of the game and you couldn't build it high enough to, well, you could, but you couldn't afford anything high enough to get out of the way of that. We're still floating that around, but what we would suggest, if there is an interest in at least looking at that, is that we could pull that together, price that out. And our suggestion would be to make it a bid alternate, which would allow when we go out to bid, to get an actual bid cost on that. At which time the council could decide whether they felt it was the right thing to do to put the money for covers, which would potentially allow for a little more perhaps expanded time with that. Our recommendation would be to cover no more than 2 courts. If you're going to do that, leave 2 open, 2 covered. I don't think that we can actually afford it. I'm not sure if that's the right answer. But I wanted to keep that in the mix and at least throw it out there to both you and the council ultimately, in terms of whether you want us to even pursue that.
Yeah, I've never played on a court with covers, and a lob is an important part of the game.
It is.
To be honest. So I don't know how high they are or how it would work, but just having no information at all, I think that we should put the money elsewhere, honestly, probably. And then I'm curious about, because in the initial proposal that when, I don't know when it was, this summer or something. The analysis you guys did said it was gonna be 4 to 6 courts and there was gonna be room for expansion.
Mhm.
And that's why we, all agreed on recommending this location. So curious where we would expand and why we have, I know that, there's all the reasoning why 4 courts here is the answer because of the budget, but I'm curious, one, where could we expand if we were to expand in the future? And two, how much of this budget is going towards the dog park rehabilitation and not pickleball?
The expansion would come obviously south. There's a large open area and I think you saw in June, I think you saw a six court design, which is exactly that, which is basically taking this location and adding 2 more. So they would be aligned in the same way with that. And if you went with a 6 court, you would most likely add a second access point off of the walkway and into those additional 2 courts. So everything is preserved and reserved there for that. I wouldn't recommend going in and doing the necessarily the compaction and do all of that work with this. We could do that. We can look at what that makes sense, but you would have this kind of disturbed pad and with no clear understanding of when that might be utilized and everything. But that would be the recommendation to just extend and expand on that. You also have obviously power, conduit, everything in there. Your stormwater is going to, so it would be everything designed around that point.
And then my second part of that question was how much of this $800,000 is. I don't know if you could break it out.
I couldn't tell you the exact number. The dog park is a very small piece of the equation. Certainly I would guess at this point from the estimates, I'm well under 10% of the total cost is dog park and any dog park related efforts there. And part of that issue is the dog park improvements include tree buffer, which again, a number of the community members have strongly suggested between the dog park itself and the pickleball. So there's the question, is that for the pickleball or is that for the dog park? The answer is yes, it's for both. So that's a whole cost piece on that deal. The main cost that we're looking at is just taking out the fence and relining it up through there, and then again planting some trees and hopefully maybe trying to put something other than the gravel and rock in there. With that, and I think John, you had a plan for some improvements of that facility. I read somewhere on materials at one point we were going there with that, but it's a very small piece of this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the dog park does need work for sure.
Yeah.
I've heard people in the community say they drive up to Morgan Hill to use their dog park.
Yeah.
When why don't we have a dog park that people want to go to?
Yeah, I think what we as staff have heard from you and community members is the desire to try to activate Los Animas as much as possible to get people there, get families there, get folks around there and deal with that. And usually when it's activated in positive ways, less of the negatives is usually like settled in places that's actively engaged and actively involved with that. Obviously, the lighting there adds a whole element of lighting in that whole area there that doesn't exist today. It's a pretty dark spot there, and that's imperfect, but it is a start of an improvement there. obviously, one of the things we've talked about is in the big picture here, long term, is improving the parking lot out front there. And I will get, cost estimate on, best estimate on what that would take. And see where we are with that and see if there are other funds that might be, it would be allocated to that, whether part of this project or separate from this. That's something that everybody, I think, across the board has wanted. And I know we also want facilities, we want cool stuff, but being able to comfortably park with lighting again and, and feel secure and also, accessible paths of travel are important. The accessible paths of travel are critical to the city because they're an obligation we have under both, state law and Americans with Disabilities Act. And when we put this kind of investment in, we have to put in a certain percentage of that project into accessibility improvements. So there is an absolute reason to do it for the, all the right reasons of making, the site more accessible, but beyond that, we're obligated to make accessible improvements where we can in and around the project. So,
John, quick question, just to follow up to that.
Are you done with your comments?
I have more, but you can.
No, go ahead.
No, we're supposed to go one at a time.
Oh.
So,
Sorry.
No.
I didn't even.
so,
I can't remember now. Oh, if we were to do the 6 courts now, which I've had conversations with council personally asking about, what if there's budget constraints? What if we can only do 4 courts? And my suggestion to them was we should do a phased approach because, like you said, economies of scale, let's do it all. Let's get all the grading done. Let's add less fencing or something at the beginning. We can put up some temporary fences. Like, I feel like if we don't do it now, it's not gonna get done. And on the research I've done and provided to council personally, 4 courts for our population size is not enough. And I can provide that to you if you would like.
I don't doubt it. And part of the reason we'd like to ultimately do the parks master plan is to get a little more of that detail and information on what the standards could be, maybe should be, at least say what they would recommend to be. That ultimately is going to be the council's decision in terms of doing that. We'll certainly, if there's a consensus with the commission to pursue 6 court, please put that out there and let me know, because I will convey that back on the 6th to the city council. I don't, let me go to the real part about it. My strong recommendation is don't do what you're suggesting. Don't do a half-baked 4 courts with no assurance and no guarantee that the funding will be available to finish it up and do it the right way. I think our perspective with council when they were authorizing funding was no less than 4 courts, but we're going to do good courts. We're going to do courts that you could do tournament play on if you wanted to do tournament play. These will meet those tournament standards, I believe. And they're not just stick as many as you can. You could redo this project maybe and shove another court in there in that same space, turn them the other direction and do that. I don't think that's valuable, but that's a value judgment that I can't, absolutely put forth on this field. What I felt we were directed from the council was to build good, solid, appropriate courts, get as many as we could, 4 being the minimum. And don't do temporary fencing, don't do, you can't build it without, doing lighting. And ultimately you'd be stuck there with a graded out pad with nothing on it, no grass, no nothing, waiting around. To see whether you're gonna build the next two courts perhaps at some point.
I personally play pickleball twice a week minimum, and none of the courts I play on have fencing in between. And I'm not saying that isn't like, that's ideal, that's the situation you want, is fencing in between, but I've played tournaments on courts that don't have fencing in between the courts. Like I think there's ways
So
to
that-
do it
so-
well.
So that fencing, that fencing, yeah, it's going to be, let's call that $30,000. That fencing is not buying you two additional courts.
Mm.
I mean, that's just, I get it. I've seen a lot of the courts and everything like that. I get it. I see the Watsonville courts where they built them very close together, and they're great recreational courts, but they're difficult when you have wind blowing. And you've got different issues. We can take out the fencing, but that still doesn't buy you two more courts. Two more courts from our estimates, basically, is going to be probably $200,000-300,000 more at a minimum, kind of on that deal, for context with that. So again, we're gonna, if you're as a group advocating to go to the 6 courts, please convey that. I'll be
Let's
happy to
let's
take
move
that.
on, and then that way we come back if there's any open questions.
I do have one more thing.
One more question.
It wasn't a question, it's a comment. I thought at our last meeting, if anyone can remember, I thought we did come to the agreement to recommend 6 courts.
What, we did bring a 6 court, and what we said, we can go check it. So the June meeting was the formal action taken was the location.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the number of courts. Now, we showed you a 6 court option and said, we don't know whether we can afford it.
Yeah.
What we heard was the language that we got from the council was no less than 4. We said at that point, we'd like to try to squeeze 4 out of this, but we're not sure we can do it budget wise. What we've been able to do and go through this process is to say, with the budget that we have in place, we cannot build 6 courts. Even if we cut out, some of the fencing and do some of those things, you're still looking at a shortfall at that point.
Let's I'd like to hear from other members of the commission. Nagar, you had some comments.
Yes. Going back to the comment that you made earlier, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like there's some potential funding, some reserve funding, and some possible allocated funding for park improvements. Does that sound about right? Yes, no, maybe?
For
parks.
For parks,
Yeah, is there some kind of funding that's available for park improvements?
the council authorized, we just showing like the materials we got. They allocated $500,000 for the next 2 fiscal years, total of $1 million for park improvements.
Okay.
And
has that been decided how that is going to be spent out necessarily, or is?
we attached to your report is the recommended expenditure plan for basically that money for fiscal year
Yes,
26.
so that meeting, they had it laid out for the next couple of years, what improvements were gonna be made. And Las Animas was, and I don't know off the top of my head, but I know the tennis courts and some other things, there was 2 to 3.
We're trying to deal with the cracking on courts 5, or 6 and 7, pardon me. We're looking at trying to get the basketball court resurfaced as well with that. We're getting estimates on that one, and hope we can, that's our plan to do that. We right now have on order the new restroom for the Oaks area, for the Oaks area. And so you can see us out there doing some work with relocating the backflow and the water and the power electrical is happening with that. And then we're looking at, roughly call it, roughly $900,000 for this project here that we do. So, pretty significant investment. But I will argue to some extent, one could argue a drop in the bucket in terms of what the overall needs are. I got a call from a community member, unhappy about the condition of the tennis courts at El Roble. I knew they were in rough condition, but I went out on Friday and was on there, and I was more disappointed than I thought I would be. And so that kind of carries forward into many areas now. You know, we're working on, we've got playground covers for Third Street coming in. Those are 100. How much are those total construction and everything? 127, somewhere under $30,000 for those, for the covers. That's for the speaker. The speaker was here.
Playground retrofits.
The playground retrofits, we've talked about that. We've got one playground. It's over $100,000 just to replace the playground equipment with the existing posts and everything else in place, keeping the surface underneath it. So I just said this before, I just want to be clear. In our budgets, in my own personal budget, I'm sure in yours as well, $500,000 sounds like a lot. In the world of 23 parks and many acres and all the demands and things come to that, it doesn't go very far, unfortunately.
Yeah, thank you for bringing me up to speed, Luis. I missed that. But the only reason I asked that question, I'm sure it's probably a lot more easier said than done, but I was just thinking, what if it's like one bigger project to kind of decrease the costs of like all the projects that we want to kind of do at Las Animas, or that we have in mind to move forward with, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's typically how it works. If it's a bigger project, typically, you know, you can get a better deal out of that. Is that something in your experience that you've seen? Is that something that might not be worth considering? I'm just thinking it's a great opportunity to take advantage and really improve the park, right? And
Now
add some of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, he has brought up like lighting and other items.
That's that's an exceptionally good question. You know, in a perfect world, you want to try to bid the biggest project you can, because you benefit from economies of scale. You get better unit prices, you get construction companies who are willing to come in that may not on a smaller project. So in a big picture sense, absolutely. You get better dollar for dollar on that typically. You're not always guaranteed it, but typically in a bidding situation. The issue is that we don't have facilities plan. We don't really have any kind of facilities master plan that said this is what we're doing. And we also don't have a funding source for that larger project. So the council said we're willing to find and pull this $900,000 out of the rec fees, roughly 900,000 out of the rec fund, and use it for pickleball, because we have been convinced by the community over the many years that we are in need of at least starting our pickleball investment. And again, I think you have to look at this as the start of a pickleball investment. You know, I think we have to look at is Los Animas the only place that pickleball courts go? I don't know that this is it's not a huge city, but I don't know that everybody wants to go to Los Animas just for, to be able to walk to it, and do that. Again, that's a community question and everything with that. So in a perfect world, yeah, you would look at that point. But if that's the case, we would never get anything done probably that you would like to have done as a community. We certainly would get the pickleball courts, because we'd be waiting to be able to accrue enough money to be able to do the big project, which we don't have a plan for right now. I mean, everybody's got ideas, but we don't have a plan for it. We haven't designed it. We had last month, we had the Little League folks, and we met with them, the chairs met with them. Various folks have been meeting with them, and they have a plan for a lot of the money too. And it's perfectly legitimate. They have needs, they have wants, and everybody is
struggling for much of a fairly small pot.
So just so I understand, so it's the improvements that you all had mentioned earlier, the improvement of the asphalt, basketball court area, the restrooms, that's not necessarily in a plan yet. That's just an idea.
No, that's in our, that's in our work plan. We're actually in the process of getting quotes on those. So we want to move forward with that. Separate from this, we don't have to wait around for that, it's just a separate, and that's a, you know, it's just a separate contract and separate effort.
Are those the restrooms for Los Angeles and Christmas Hill or Los Angeles? The restrooms?
This one's Los Angeles, but same restrooms that we put in at Christmas Hill, virtually the same restroom facility as the modular that was put in at Christmas Hill.
That's all I have.
Jesse, do you have comments, questions?
Yeah, I know you mentioned about the Little League redoing their fields, resurfacing, kids are sliding, scratching their knee, getting butt burns and things of that nature. Will we have to come next year to be able to propose Little League field upgrades?
Okay, so that's not part of the
It's
agenda.
not
but
on
you
the
wanna
agenda.
answer-
Maybe I can come back and talk.
Okay.
And we can come back and speak to a more generic conversation. I will only say this, we do a lot, we do a lot of regular maintenance. We continue to do a lot of regular maintenance. You know, at Christmas Hill, we have unbelievable problems with squirrels who are, and so we're working through that issue and the changes to the regulations on baiting of the critters has made it very difficult for us to take care of that problem as much as I love them, and people feeding them out there is driving that issue. So there's a lot of do maintenance. And I will say this, and only this, is that Matt Jones and I are scheduled to meet with the Little League to do a walkabout on both Los Animas and Christmas Hill with Little League folks on the 26th in the afternoon. So we're committed to working with them, identifying what their concerns are, what we can do as regular maintenance.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I have some questions and comments, and I would like to respond to some of my comments. I did go back, look at the minutes. The minutes, you did mention 6 courts. It was forwarded to recommend this location and build 6 courts. My understanding is it was approved, and I was there at the city council budget meeting. $800,000 was the number. That was the hard number set by council. We could fit 6 courts, that'd be great. I'm in favor of building the concrete structure in the bottom, so I think doesn't bend or break. The fences in between are minor number. I think the beautification of the dog park with the tree line and better fencing, that's gonna make that look a lot better. I'm highly in favor of the lights. I don't know how they work. Could you describe the lights, what they're gonna look like? What do they light up? Is it only the court? Is it the walkway walking from the parking lot to the court? How does the lighting work?
At this point, the lighting that we're talking about is only for the court lights, and those are basically in the world we call it basically the shoebox. They're like a shoebox sharp cut off. They generally only illuminate the courts itself. They're designed not to cause overspill into the neighboring properties. We are looking at, with the improvements that we're doing and trying to figure out whether we can get some additional lighting. We did move some of the solar lights that we had from the Gourmet Alley project. We may look at it and see if we can utilize some additional solar lights possible and try to get more lighting around there. We know that's a desire and an appropriate request at this point. Again, you can see how expensive the electrical and lighting is in the mix. So unfortunately, that alone is one of the most expensive pieces of adding additional work to that point. But we're certainly trying to get there with it and try to again dial down the project into something that potentially gets us there. And then and see whether
we can squeeze. Money from some other location out of there in terms of some source that we're not even thinking about right now.
John, describe the walkway. Tell me how the walkway is gonna work from, because that parking lot's the darkest of both parking lots at Los Alamos. It's also got all the dirt. So how does the walkway work going from that part? 'Cause that's where people are gonna park, which is good because that area gets a little shady sometimes. So having people want to play pickleball there, I think is positive. Is it well lit that they can easily see and, you know, more well lit it is that we're engaging that part of the park, we're lessening, you know, undesirable activity. How does that walk, what does it look like? How does, there's a lighting on the steps or by the walkway?
Again. We haven't gone there.
Okay,
This
so
is
that's a detail
conceptual.
we haven't got, okay.
This is conceptual.
Gotcha, okay.
But we are looking to, and unfortunately, that little three-dimensional is right over top of where the parking lot is and that the extension of that point, but basically that sort of asphalt path that exists today, that kind of turns into dirt and everything else, that would be rebuilt and come up that little slope area there, connect and sort of tee in there.
Great.
Extend down to connect to where there's concrete again, down toward the bridge. And then you would extend that where we have marginal asphalt walkway and sort of a mixture there with that. You know, I have heard at different times that there have been some congregations of folks in that area between that walkway and the street. So we want to put some emphasis on seeing what we can do to activate that. One of the things that we've looked at there, you know, is do we put some street furnishings kind of there? How do we activate it? Do we put some lighting in there? And how do we make that better? So I'm aware we're working, gonna look at that and work from that point. So I know that's an area of some concern from community members.
And this has been a project long in the making, and you know, some people have worked really hard at that. And the fact that we get 4 courts to the 6 is a little disappointing, but we're getting 4 well-built courts for the money we're spending, right? And the money's, the investment's gonna be in the foundation, so it doesn't crack. I think the needs assessment that's gonna be done will show that we probably need more pickleball courts. I know there's a joint task force that I'm working on with the council member on joint use with the college, joint use with the high schools for using their courts. That's in the process. That's gonna take some time. It's gonna be on the agenda when the city council meets with USD. But that's in the works, and if we can leverage that property and use those courts, that'd be access for our community access those courts as well. But for right now, this will be, you know, dedicated, solely built for pickleball. And I think the needs assessment will tell us we need more, and then we can figure out money comes from and what park to put them in. Because this isn't the only park we have in the city, and you know, so I think the needs assessment will tell me where we might be able to use it. So I like the design. I am disappointed by 6 courts, but I'll take the 4 because they look like wonderful courts. I played pickleball once or twice, and I ran into a fence that hit my head one time because the fence was right there. So this looks like it's spacious enough, and it blocks the balls from going all over the place. That's a really nice book. So I don't think we have any movement on this, right? We don't have to move on anything. Is there?
What I would say is that if we could get just a consensus, you know, even if it's, you know, here rather than a full thumbs up or whatever, it would be good for just reporting back in terms of the council with it. You know, I share the frustration. I would love to be here. I'd love to be here with the 6 courts. You know, I was very hopeful that we could squeeze it into this point, and I don't like saying I can't, but I have to be realistic about what I can and can't do with the money. But if there is a consensus, that's okay too, I guess, on that. But it'd be nice just to see if there's a consensus on pushing this forward. And
So it's not a formal vote, or just?
it's not a formal vote.
So I'm highly in favor of this project. Again, disappointed we don't get more, but really happy that we're gonna make improvements for lighting, activating that part of the court, especially that little area off to the side behind the buildings, improving the dog park. I'm very favorable. That's my.
Yeah, I feel similar to Luis. I think it's a shame that $800 can only get us so far. You know, you think that'd be a lot, you get a lot more from that, but I mean, I'm in favor for just bringing that park to life and really getting it activated in whatever way possible we can. So, you know, I think this is a victory in the scheme of things and improving the park safety and whatnot. So, I think we're in the right path. I just hope we can build on this momentum to really kind of finish all the other little projects that we have for that. So, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I'm satisfied. I'm excited to see these courts come to life and the attention that's going to draw for our community, starting with the fours. Yeah. Okay with it.
To be honest, I think 4 is not enough. I've said it before in the last meeting, you know, I said it now. I've looked at the research, you know. I think you said even if we get the needs assessment, it's gonna say more is necessary. So let's do it now. Like, why do we need to wait when we already know the research is out there? I think, yeah, I definitely want high quality courts, but pickleball is a community building activity. And if you're splitting it up around a bunch of different parks, you don't get that momentum that everybody is here, we're doing the same thing, we're hanging out, we're playing pickleball. I think having 6 courts in one place is the way to go. So I would be curious to see what the plans would look like with 6 courts fit into this budget, to be honest. Are we able to see something like that?
I have a question. Would it be more expensive to add 2 more courts later on than it would if we were to do it upfront now?
Sure. Now, this is Javier's point, which is that, you know, if you're gonna add 200 square feet to your house and you think you're gonna add another 200, you don't do it in 2. If you can do it, you do it all at one time, right? You get the contractor out, the mobilization costs, all the costs go down. It's just an issue at this point of a budget. And we've run the budget. I'm happy to share those budget numbers, but they went well over $1 million when you go to the 6 courts. And so that's how we ended up back to this point, was that we were given a budget and said, you know, to meet that budget, not come back with a project that's $300,000 over that budget, as much as I, you know, love it, but.
Is part of the constraint the location, maybe, since
No.
we are moving a bunch of fencing
No.
and doing things?
No, it's not about the location. It's about construction costs being expensive. That's what this is about. Everything is expensive, and we pay prevailing wage for everything. So a lot of folks talk about, hey, I can build a court for $75,000, $80,000. You know, okay, and maybe you can, maybe you can't, but the bottom line is you're not paying generally prevailing wage. You're not paying all the things that we do and all the add-ons that we get as a public bid project and everything that deal. So it's part of the deal.
I'm curious, do you know off the top of your head, what did Morgan Hill spend on their 4 courts?
Morgan Hill with no lights and with asphalt was I think at the end was around $400,000 is what I've heard their total end cost with that deal. I don't know if that included all their design, all of that, but I think it did. I think about 400,000, and that was two years or so, at least, when they went out to bid with that deal. Construction costs continue to escalate, so you know, and just for perspective, COVID was crazy for many reasons. Between 21 and 22, 2021, 22, construction cost index was up some 22, 23%, meaning everything construction wise went up 23%, and we're still, so now even even though the construction cost index is at, say, 3%, we're paying a compounded that times roughly 23, 24, 25% from what it was just 4 years ago for everything that we build, particularly in the public sector, but private sector paying that as well. That's why, you know, when you look at projects that were bid and built out even 4 years ago, it was you know, they caught their design and their bidding basically before or during COVID. And some of that was bad because of supply side issues, but on the other side of it, we were just continuing to see escalation in the construction costs.
My recommendation, I mean, I know that's not formal, but I think six, if we want to do it right, let's do it right. Let's do the 6, is my opinion.
I'll reflect your opinions, and I would remind, I think the commission, the majority is sort of set where the commission consensus is, but as individuals, certainly, in council, one can convey that. Just please, if you're going to do that, convey it, just make sure that you speak as a citizen, meeting member, not as a commission member, saying that.
So everybody feels that way, that 4 is good.
Just to re-clarify my point. The 800,000, if our 800,000 is our budget, great. I like this. I love this. I especially like it because we're making other improvements to the park, even though they're minor. 36 courts, if it's going to cost $1 million, we're not going to get that thing. Yes, I'd like to have a 6 courts, but if our budget's $800,000, then I'm in favor of going. That's my.
Bill Simmons for Myers.
So,
And again, I'll just say this, council's the one who has the purse strings, who controls the money side of that deal. And if, on October 6th, there's a consensus there, a majority, that agree that, they'd like to pursue the larger project and find the money, to allocate to it. That's their call. So will be what they said.
Yeah, so I think we're ready to move.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for showing us this. At least we got something we can look at. 9.3, the Rain Garlic Halloween event. I think everybody has this in their packet.
Yep.
So you want
So,
to speak about that?
Sure, just, Recreation had, we had provided this to you last meeting, but Recreation asked that we plug it again and be clear to point out the part that they really wanted you to see and think about is they'd love to have you, any number of you there for being judges and participating with them, and they encourage you to reach out to them and sign up and as commission members, and they'll put you to work doing something fun for that day. So we told them we put on the agenda again and give a special emphasis to do that. I noticed we didn't do public comments, so I didn't want to. Did you have any want to speak on the, just if I could, Chair, on the pickleball?
You know, as a community member, I'm thinking maybe be naming a park unless I'm the sports park. I'm sure that you are aware that you have to take away some of the barbecue areas that to utilize in that area, which is disappointing, but I can understand the need for the ball courts too.
Our plan is to relocate those and deal with it. So we're not just going to pull them out. Yeah.
I like seeing people, you know, go there and have their and that's a nice little space. The dog parks are severely underutilized. So I don't know if this is gonna help or I'm good with it, but it's a great plan. I welcome it. Anything that's positive at Los Angeles Park. I wish now, I mean, hearing all the talks about the budget, it's unfortunate all the limits that there is, because I agree with you, 6 would be ideal. That's it. Thank you.
with respect to the run, I did meet with Judy Janish. She works at the rec department. She's bringing this back. This went on hiatus for a while. So it's coming back. I've never been to the event, but I volunteered. They need help with registration, judging contest. People are gonna be dressing up and running around, so that would be fun to be part of that. And they need help with registration, judging, and any raffle prizes. So if you know somebody who's got a raffle prize, it can go for movie tickets. It could be, just anything like that that would be, willing to give out to winners for prizes. If you have any ideas, please let me know or let Judy know, but I will plan on being there. It's the day of the downtown beer crawl. So if you're a beer fan downtown, you can go to the run. And then later on that day, you have the downtown, and if you've ever attended that, there's lots of people downtown, 300 to 400 at least, last time I heard. And they walk around downtown, all the places, so,
When is the beer crawl?
I think it's the same day in the afternoon,
Okay.
yeah, so this is in the morning. So I plan on being, if you do want to attend, and I highly encourage,
I asked that for other reasons, actually.
Bring your shirt, right? One of our work planners is representing the community. So getting out there with our shirts on is.
Sign me up.
Right, gotcha.
I have a birthday party, but I don't think it starts between 8 and 12, so. Good.
Bring the party there?
Actually might consider running it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And you can judge afterwards for the prizes. And if you'll be out there running, you can see them.
Is there a lot of volunteers needed for this event?
I'll find out if you need other volunteers for the race events, but because I know you've got access to people who want.
Yeah.
I think there's two reasons why they've reached out. One is they do feel strongly that the commission has a great connection to this. Two, I'm guessing they need volunteers. Every event needs volunteers.
Yeah,
Okay,
All right, department updates, public works. Item 10.1.
so, these are the reports for this month. Happy to answer any questions that we can. I want to point out thing that I'm probably most excited is that the story walk. You notice the picture there on page 13 of 17 is one of the story walk panels there. So that's been installed out at Christmas Hill Park. I know there's a couple pictures there. You can see it. So I'm ecstatic about that because I know that there were a lot of folks asking a lot of questions about where we were with that. So so I'm thrilled with that. And we also started to have the conversation about how we proceed with Story Walk at San Ysidro as well, from Sam's and others fundraising of that. So just as a sidebar on that point, but I was extremely excited about that. But park staff has been doing a lot of reseeding and working with that. And I hope I can say thank you to the community for abiding by mostly the barricades and staying off while we had the new growth there. So good job on that one, folks.
Real quickly, John, is there a way we can dedicate that story walk? I'd really like to get the commission out there. And
Yeah.
have a formal dedication of the story walk and invite kids, if we can get
Yeah.
kids to come out there and actually walk it.
I found out about that being done by this report that staff had done. So I had not been made aware. So I'd actually, before the meeting, I tried to reach out to Adam, but I missed him, as late. So I'll talk to him in the morning and we'll figure out, some form of ribbon cutting and event out
Library
there.
involved.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
get the library involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know that that's not part of the plan. These just went up fairly recently. Yeah, so I think it's just that they haven't gotten to it, but I had the same thought as we've got to celebrate this, that, so we will work on that with our communication staff and library and get something set
With
up.
respect to San Isidro Park, we have the money. We're in the process of putting it in the right place. I am going to speak at Cafecito on October 6th, I think it is, and just say that we want to do something at San Isidro Park. It'll be a bilingual story walk, and I want to just get community input as to what kind of ideas that local community want to see for that park. And we have some examples that we can show, so that's in works.
On the park, on the project side, I mentioned San Ysidro, and I don't want to make it sound like nothing's going on. We're preparing to award a contract to a firm for landscape and landscape architecture and design works to work with us in terms of the finalizing the design there and moving that forward. So we continue to move that project forward. But again, we slowed down the pace a little bit to allow us to pick up on the pickleball and bring that schedule back into planned opening late summer of 2026 instead of winter time or whatever with that we were talking about before. So, but that is moving, and soon we can bring back some more information on that and keep you up to date.
I have a question about if we are planning shade structures there.
At this point, we're looking at the options. At this point, shade structures are not recommended, but we have mature trees there, and we're trying to build the playground utilizing those and also planting some additional trees around, and so using natural shading. There are some shading, I think, within the individual playground equipment, but so I do think there is some shading attached to that in terms of the units. We have not spec'd those out fully, and so we can continue to look at the cover. It's again a cost point with that, as well as that site is a little different because it has a wonderful canopy of natural existing trees, and we want to build within the natural
I saw that
landscape there.
in the initial plan over like the bleacher, like the concrete areas, there was gonna be.
I think there's some shade structure, but I'll say it's not like what we're doing at Third Street, which is the huge sails and the huge covers over the entirety of the area. The plan was not to do that. So maybe it's just an issue of semantics on it. There are some covers, but at this point, because of the trees and everything, we can't really do the full huge shade cover over the entirety of it, nor do we think we need it from that perspective. But we'll come back. We're still a ways away from that detail and being able to report back and talk about it. We won't leave you out of it.
Something we're definitely aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so any other comments on 10.2 before we run to rec division updates? Hey, rec division updates?
I have a question. Is Adam gonna be here at for giving rec division updates?
I will seek his attendance. With it, but I'll try to get him here and see what was up with it. But one of the things we did was to try to get the written reports, and those come from Adam, and trying to deal with that.
I saw him at the meeting.
He was there.
Yeah, I think part of when I look at the rec division updates and with Adam, we ask him, how many people did we serve in this program? How many did we do last year? Those are metrics that I just like to know. Are we increasing our services to the community? Are we decreasing? I just like to know that the trends are going in the right direction for offering.
Yeah, and I do think, and my expectation is that this report, along with Adam, but this report alone should have much more of of those types of details in terms of the numbers served. Things of that nature. So I will pass along that to Adam and Bryce to try to get more of that, and then we'll talk about having Adam back coming to the meeting.
So I see that pickleball opened up again at Wheeler. So that looks like that's open again. So but they were doing, John, I know they were doing indoor volleyball, which got a lot of traction from what I understand. I've never been, but I guess it got a lot of traction.
I'd heard that there was a good for the
I'd be
drop
interested
in.
in how many folks showed up for that and, you know, that any feedback, just, I guess from a feedback perspective, it'd be nice to get, some surveys, you know, what else would you like people to fill out? And I think that's an easy low hanging fruit you can do to people that come to our projects, just say, hey, here's a survey, take it over. It just starts getting us some feedback from the community, just to do some easy surveys for people just to fill out something after they attend.
And those certainly would fit in with the start of the assessment,
Yeah.
certainly in terms of getting that. And it's so nice with the technology that we can actually get a lot of input from community members that, 15 years ago, you would have to hold a meeting. You couldn't, hold a virtual meeting. You couldn't do a Survey Monkey or whatever you want to deal with. So, but we'll get that and get some numbers, and we'll work on that.
I emailed the car show at the senior center to one of my friends, and she showed up and had a good time. She said it's a successful turnout, and I saw social media postings about it all over too. So.
Councilmember Bracco gave a special shout out at the council meeting for that event. So,
yeah, I saw him.
And
I wish I could have gone, but I was busy.
so I think, those are things that community feeds on, it's good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people, I saw on social media talking like, oh, I wish I would have known about this. I totally would have been there. So hopefully next year it will be bigger.
Then I also see in contract process that the youth soccer league started. I know soccer is a big deal for some of our members on our commission. George isn't here right now. I just love to know. And let me just give a shout out to George. George has started his own soccer thing. He has 41 kids that he's teaching once or twice a week down at Christmas Hill Park that he's done on his own, and he's got a grant, and he's got kids involved. He's got high school kids involved. I just like to know with Audix is that 194 the same as last year, higher than last year, and I also saw advertised to the city of futsal. I don't even know what futsal is, but I guess kids play it.
Indoor soccer.
Yeah, indoor soccer.
Oh.
And I'd like to know if that's taking off, if that's getting any traction. And so, yeah, so I understand having staff on here at night. I wouldn't even do it myself personally, so I'm sensitive to you guys. Appreciate you guys.
I'll pass along the request.
Yes,
with that deal, and we'll definitely get better, some better information in terms of just more of the data and the things that I think are perfectly appropriate.
Especially with the needs assessment coming up, I think we definitely need somebody from RAC to be involved.
And Adam's been very involved. He was very involved with the work leading up into the staff report last night. Bryce gave that presentation, but that had a number of people working behind the scenes, and certainly including Adam. So,
Anybody else have comments or questions on the rec update?
Not the rec update, but if I can backtrack a little bit, sorry, to the Public Works capital.
Sure, projects, yeah.
Real quick, I know that the resurfacing of the basketball handball court area, you said you had mentioned, but I don't see it on here. Or am I missing that?
it's the park sport court surface enhancements. That's number 5.
Okay, the locations to
on
the
the
side.
15 of 17. Yeah, that I know it's good government gobbledygook, but that's what that is. Sorry.
Okay,
We'll try to be a little more clear about what that is.
yeah. So point number 5 is referring to last time.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, we're done with item 10. We come to the part where item 11, where we report on our parks, and there's some Sam in here and George is in here, so we'll start from the top. Jesse, you would go first, and Carol.
Nothing to report today.
Okay, one. Javier, Rainbow, Los Arroyos, Las Animas.
Rainbow's good. So, Rainbow, Los Arroyos, good parks. Las Animas, I mean, just see a little bit more activation space. But it sounds like we're going that way, so I'm happy about that.
Okay. Commissioner Miller.
Sydney Casper, to be honest, I haven't had time this month to go see, but all of my C-Click fix updates that I put in last month have been acknowledged, I believe. In the Sydney Casper last month, I reported that there was some flooding in the 3 areas, and I saw that you guys reported that the sprinkler systems had been updated. So do you know if that fixed the issue, or did you see the issue when you went out, John?
There were breaks
Okay.
and we had the contractor repair them. Well, he repaired a couple and then staff repaired the rest. So,
Okay. Perfect.
yes.
Okay, so that one was closed, which is awesome. Del Rey, again, I honestly haven't had time to go out and look at the stuff. I know that you guys are ordering playground retrofits. Is there an update on that?
We're waiting on the October 6th final approval. Is that what we need? The updated. Council's policy, is that what it
Yeah,
is?
it's actually gonna be the 20th now.
It
So,
might be noted on.
We need another final, I
Yeah.
guess, blessing from council on the 20th, but it's on hold. Ross already has the plan done, so it's as soon as we get that final.
So
Okay.
they're not ordered yet, or?
Yes, they're ordered.
They're ordered.
The plan is for them to go in November 20th.
Yeah.
I wanna say,
Okay.
November 20th, all goes well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if it's anything like it was last month, it needs work, I think. I think community members have come and
Yeah.
acknowledged that as well. It's busy too, it's right where the school
Yeah.
is. There's a bunch of people, the field looks great, the trees look great, the equipment, it's rough. So it's good that that's
In progress.
Matt and I have been out to Delray a couple times. We want to remove the bricks that are in the tree wells. There's a couple, at least last time I was there was a couple trees that have died back behind the playground. So there's just a little bit of TLC that it needs, certainly, and some work there, the fencing, some just things around there. Obviously, we're also going to be doing some work around the sidewalks to take some of the lifts out that are along the street there leading up to the school. And then there's right by the school transition to the park, there's a huge uplift there from a tree. And we're looking at dealing with that from trip and fall and kind of a mess.
Some of that
So-
was taken care of.
So we've gone out and trimmed some of that. So I appreciate these comments. And this work here, because I do take it to heart, and we do go out and visit, and we do look at those things, and it helps for other eyes. So don't think that this is unappreciated. It is fully appreciated.
Yeah, on a comment for that last meeting, I mentioned that the Christmas Hill gazebo was being held up by a strap, and you guys immediately took care of that within the week. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it
You guys are.
should have been taken care of earlier.
You know,
than that. I really.
I waited on it, and I was.
I know,
like,
I know, you don't be that kind to us, please. I'll say that if you see something that you think is unsafe, please point it out to us. Please point it out to us, and if we're being obstinate, continue to hassle us, or, bring it to my attention with
Yeah,
that deal.
you guys are doing a great job. I reported a tree down at Sunrise, and that was taken care of.
Tennis courts.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And then Gilroy Sports Park is my last park. I have had a ghost walk around there a few times, and I forgot to mention this at the last meeting, but the very first meeting, I mentioned that the swings were squeaky, and they are no longer squeaky. So minor, but they were so loud. I don't know if you
Amazing how
fixed
that
that.
happens.
Who fixed that? Is it you?
Amazing what
It-
Crisco does, right?
Honestly.
You get
Little
the smell of
vegetable
frying,
oil.
of fries,
They bake it down, but-
you know, in August, it smells like fries.
No, so, thank you. I did notice that the minor details, honestly, it's a whole different experience now. The fences are down, soccer's happening, the fields look great, so.
I like that you ride the swings.
I love swinging.
Awesome.
I like to jump off.
Oh, yeah.
Parachute.
I used to do it. It's not anymore.
Okay, I think it's my turn, so, I haven't gone by Butcher, but Butcher's this. There's nothing there.
The triangle, is that the triangle?
Triangle that needs help.
I will tell you this, we did receive a C-click fix with concerns about line of sight when you're coming out of there. So, I'm asking our crew to do a couple things. One is to put some red curb around that corner that comes out, where it comes in at a 90 into, Old Gilroy. And then, to just take down some of those bushes, either entirely or significantly down, because when you come out of there, it is difficult to see down the way, with that. So, there's a car that likes to park right on the, ramp that comes up from the street into the park as well. So, we'll have to remind them of that and red curb that, too, so.
Robo is beautiful. I think that playground also has some retrofits coming from it.
That one's coming as well, yeah.
It's great. And then, I went by Sunrise and for last time that the grass is green, but you got the sprinklers working. It's looking green again. Sunrise it's nice. So good job in the parks, but it's looking good.
Luis, I had one more thing. Just, I want to revisit the solar gourmet alley lighting, like the portable lighting that you all say it's available. How can we possibly, in the meantime of the park improvements at Las Animas, get some of those units out there? Does that need to be an agenda item? Is that something that we reach out to you all directly for some recommendations of where to kind of place the lighting? What would be the best way to kind of get that kind of ball rolling?
Well, actually, staff, the guy that's typically out there, Frankie, he actually has taken some out already, but I think the focus was around the handball court, tennis court, so you might see some out there already. But I guess it's
There weren't a lot. I mean,
we have a few left.
but-
Yeah, so we have a handful left, so I guess it's just identifying where maybe we have some hot spots out there or some dark spots out there, whichever.
So,
And
yeah, I would say this, if offline, if you wanna, if you have some thoughts, particularly Javier, this is your park, you've got some thoughts, send us an email. Send us a
More than happy.
picture, some pictures or whatever, what photos, whatever you're all right. We will certainly take a look at it. We've got a few more to put up and, certainly I think, perhaps around the parking lot area there is something that we, but we're interested in anybody's here input and thoughts on where it is. We can come back at the next meeting and discuss, hopefully, that we put some up. And here's where we did it, or we can come back and if we're still challenged with where to put them up, because there's multiple priorities to that point, we can come back and say, where do you want to emphasize this?
Guess I'm a little, educate me on the solar lights, I guess I'm not.
We, for a while, we didn't have PG&E connection on Gourmet Alley. And there were the street lights that go along that, the decorative lights. So we bought, solar lights to replace, to go in the place of, the PG&E fed lights
Okay.
until we had it. So those became available. And we're trying to use those again, reuse them
Yeah,
at,
great.
out of Los Animas. And they're easy because they're solar.
Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. That concludes that item. So now we're on item 12, director's report. Do we?
I think we've covered, it well.
All right. Thank you all. I think we'll adjourn today's meeting at 7:50 PM.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you all for your input.